Hello teachers, this is the instructional guide for Primary 3, Term 4, Week 4. For this week, there are 3 booklets. The first booklet is what we do to finish up angles, perpendicular and parallel lines, and then the other 2 books is on a perimeter, right? So let's start with the first book. It's actually a very easy book. I think there are about only 8 pages, if I'm not wrong. So this is about identifying horizontal and vertical lines, okay? So I think here we start off with horizontal lines. What are horizontal lines? Basically, horizontal lines is lines that moves from, if you look at this A to B here, right? So it's a straight line, but right, imagine that it's like a floor, right? You can always remind them that horizontal is like the floor, okay? And all lines parallel to level ground are horizontal lines, what we call, right? So we use the ground as a way to gauge. What about vertical lines? Well, they can think of vertical lines like a wall, okay? So hence, all lines parallel to the wall are vertical lines. All lines perpendicular to the level ground, right, are vertical lines, okay? So all lines parallel to the wall are vertical lines, or all lines perpendicular to level grounds are vertical lines. Okay, so vertical and horizontal. So this one is quite easy. Get them to do. All you need to do is well, if they have here they are required to use green color and pink color. So if they don't have colored pencils, you might want to get them to use perhaps maybe pencil and pen, right? But otherwise, not a very important question to do here. I think basically you can also pick a few questions for them to do here. Okay, perhaps go with question 3 and 4 on page 6. All right, and then that's it, right? There's actually not much. In fact, I would think that if you are to go through with them in class, right, they can actually easily do it in class there, right? Perhaps just do question 6, okay, and then the rest can be a science homework, right? So not a very short book. All right, let's move on to the more important topics, starting off with perimeter, right? Perimeter. Okay, so now they have to understand perimeter. We start off by showing them going through the lesson materials here. Andy has a piece of wire that is 16 centimeters long. And if the wire is bent to make this figure, all right, what is the parameter? The parameter is exactly the length of the wire because it is bent, right, to form this so-called figure here. All right, so distance around the figure is 16. So to show them where the parameter is from here to here, right, and then down. So basically, I would always like to get students to think of the parameter, right, as something like a fence. And I think this is important, right, for them to draw this connection, because there are going to be a lot of questions later on when the questions are always asking about, the fence, all right, what's the parameter of the fence, and so on. Okay, so do show them. All right, and then parameter of figures on the square grid. Okay, so here, demonstrate to them how this is used, how the square grid is used to count the length, right? Each of this so-called unit here is considered 1 cm. So 1, 2, 3 cm. CD is 3 cm. AB is 1 cm. Now, and then, of course, you have other questions like once it's in a figure, how do they count? So for a start, I would always ask students to maybe do a marking after they counted it so that they will not lose count or lose count. So they can go 1, right, 2, right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, this is for those who are very unclear, or not very good with counting. I would usually, because this may create a mess, right? So instead of counting and putting a mark on it, right, they can actually just do the first one, right? Put a small mark here, a pencil mark, and then this will be considered 1, and after that, go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, they can do it that way as well. Okay, so just avoid overcounting. So all these are quite easy. I would just say skip and perhaps go to page 5. Oh, sorry, these are all independent guided practice. So by all means, right, please get them to do the guided practice, right? No need to demonstrate. I think it's very easy. Just walk around to make sure that their answers are correct, right? If not, you have to explain to them. Okay, especially for question D, which requires them to do some kind of comparison. right here to note, right, C and S, figure C and S, okay, although they are not of the same shapes, the parameter can be the same. Okay, so that's very important for them to know. Okay, and then for independent practice, I would say maybe get them to do perhaps question 2. Right, question 2, in which they have the right answer here. Right, so you can check the answers with them. Okay, perhaps you might want to do the first shape with them, the first 2 shapes, L and M, with them. Just make sure that they are doing it correctly. Okay, and then I would suggest that let's see, any more? Okay, here they have to end. For question 4 will be good to do. Perimeter of the rectangle is 10 cm. Then they have to draw a different one with the same parameter, right, which is 10 cm as well. Okay, so this may be challenging for some students. All right, so one question it, and then perhaps do question, let's see, maybe F, right? Question F. What is parameter of this figure? And then they have to draw the same parameter, right? But do not draw a square or rectangle. So they have to draw other shapes instead. Okay. And I think the rest are quite easy. Okay, so this one you can demonstrate, right, with them how it works, or if you think they should be able to manage as homework, that's fine as well, right? Do it as homework. And then move on to the third book. Right, the third book will be on finding the parameter of a figure. Okay, so this is quite easy. What is the parameter of this figure? They just need to add them up. Right, same thing here, add them up. So it's more about accuracy than anything else. Okay, do the guided practice. Okay, after that, finding the parameter of squares and rectangles. So this is important. As a concept, right? Square, if one side is 5 cm, all the sides are 5 cm. Okay, so they don't even need to be shown the other sides. So this is understood. So either they can do 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or they know 4 sides are equal, will be 4 times 5. Okay, there you go. Method 1, method 2. All right, what if it's a rectangle? Rectangle, we know that 2 sides are the same and the other 2 sides are the same, right? But length and breadth is different. Okay, so what they can do is they can do 6 plus 6 because they're the same, then plus 4 plus 4. Okay, or the other way is to just add the length and breadth together and then multiply by 2. Try to show them why it's multiplied by 2, right? Because if you cut this into half, right, the length and breadth here, and then you multiply, because there are two groups of these, right? So that's why you multiply by 2. Okay, all right. And then you can give them some questions to practice. I think question 2 will be good to practice. All right, on their own. Oh, sorry, this is guided practice again. I beg your pardon. So guided practice, finish everything. Somehow I think this topic is a bit too easy, so I tend to jump a bit. Yeah, but get them to finish the whole guided practice. Then after that, you can just pick a few questions for them to do. Right, it's actually quite perhaps get them to do the harder one, like G, right, where they need to add up. More of this, right, more to add up. Okay, get them to do G. See whether they remember how to do D. Okay, so only given 10, but they should know that it's 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, or multiply by 4. Get them to do 3A as well. Okay, so they should know that it is either, they can either do 8 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2, or 8 plus 2, and then multiply by 2. Okay, so basically a lot of practice for them here. Question 6 might do with them as well. Right, parameter of the linear solar bit, which is something like a what do you call it? The again, to build a fence, right? So linear wants to build a fence. What's the length of the fencing that needs, which is exactly the parameter. Okay, which is why earlier on I said it's good to start getting them to think about how parameter is like the fence. Okay, and then perhaps to do question 8 with them. Right, parameter of the largest square. So here is important because the parameter of the largest square does not include this, right? Does not include the red part. So it's only the ones outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? They cannot count those in the middle. All right, so it's good for them to do this here. And team wants to draw, make sure it's 6 tiles to make a rectangle with the greatest possible number. Okay, so get them try doing this. Okay, greatest possible parameter. 6 tiles, right? What is the greatest that we can get? Okay. And I think that's it. Okay, so the rest can be assigned as homework. And you probably, for some of the students who are faster, you may find they have extra time, get them to do the corrections. If they have test paper that are unfinished, right, can get them to do the test papers as well. Okay, that's it for this week's topic. Next week, we'll do area.